It's project time again as usual, as me and Gordon finish outfitting the boat for our circumnavigation, CNC 39. And today's project is plumbing. Let me show you what we're doing. There's Gordon researching fittings available from our local Home Depot for these improvements. And we're installing a 12-volt pump for a pressurized salt water system. So we have a spray nozzle available for salt water for cleaning dishes. Everything up here is fresh water. This is an old hand pump. It'll go away. So we'll have salt water for washing dishes and fresh water for rinsing. And all that's going to go down here under the sink. We're going to do away with a water heater. We've never used it. You know, if we're ever at a marina where we got shore power, and where we're going, it ain't going to be cold, so that's going away. So we'll be mounting all that in there. We're installing a whole house water filter. The water tanks are clean, but just an extra measure of keeping things clean and fresh tasting. Back in the bathroom, we'll be running lines, salt water all the way back here. We're going to put a spigot up on deck to wash anchor chain with salt water. We'll make the toilet salt water flush. So we'll show you as we get to them parts. And we'll be tapping in to our strainer so we don't have to put another seacock in to get salt water. And that's the strainer for the engine. So we'll be putting a valve system in to isolate salt water to the engine and be able to tap off that strainer for the salt water system. So let's get to work and we'll show you the progress as we go along. Nothing's ever easy. We got to take the hinge off the door to get the water heater out of the way. But you can see we've stripped all the screws. They just won't come out of this teak. We've used a screw extractor and it took 2 of them out. So now we're having to use a drill and drill the heads off the screws to get them out. So we'll replace them with stainless steel screws, but we'll just drill the heads off. More than one way to skin a cat. While we're in here, we're pulling out the floorboards of this cabinet, and as you can see, they're pretty rough. So we're going to repaint these just to preserve them. And Gordon's out here sanding on them so we can get a fresh coat of paint. And of course, as with every project, you see the vacuum come out to keep things cleaned up and clean up 50 years of accumulated dust. We've got the water heater out, which we disposed of. And take a look in here. Look at all this inaccessible space here to the left. And there's the through hull for the kitchen drain. So we're going to put a little longer hose on that so we can push it back against the wall and give us more usable space there. And we're going to cut this out right here to make access to put the propane tank in there. And we've ordered an electric shut-off safety valve since it'll be inaccessible to cut it off between cooking. So project creep. One project turns into 2, turns into 3. And now we got to get up in here and unbolt the sink and pull the sink out so we can replace the faucet. And we bought a faucet with a spray nozzle built in. So it'll be the freshwater faucet with a spray nozzle. This will be a saltwater spray nozzle. And this old hand pump, it's nostalgic, but it's kind of in the way, is going to disappear. So let's get on work on pulling the sink next. More project creep. We discovered the original gas line, which looks to be in good shape, that fed gas to the stove over here. So probably not a good idea to put a propane bottle in an enclosed space in the boat anyway, even with electric shutoff. But it just won't fit in here. So we'll trace that line out and do the gas project later. But we're still going to cut access through this panel here for storage and put a new drain line in for the sink. Good news is through haul holds. And give us a little more storage room, a little better access, and we'll put the in-house water filter in here. So let's get to cutting. And we've got it loose, and the sink is coming out. Now we got some room to get in here to get this faucet out to replace it. And now, the old sink fixture's out. So let's get this cleaned up. And we'll start installing the new sink and water pumps and water filter and everything. And rebuild this system. And of course, the fittings off the old faucet that adapt it to the barb, the barbs to the hose, do not fit on the new sink fixture. So another trip to Home Depot, and we'll see what we come up with next. So we got the right hoses to fit the bottom of the sink, and go to the hose. So now, this being a single hole, we've got to drill a hole to mount it. And we got our trusty hole saw. Always drilling holes in the boat. Go. Alright, we put butyl tape all around the edges here because we want to seal this and we don't like caulk. And we just got to get this in before we put the hose connections in. Working on a sink anywhere is a pain. Boat is no different. The studs that mount the sink from underneath have rusted off, so we're just going to put stainless steel screws in from the top to hold the sink down. We've got the new sink faucet in, and it's got a spray nozzle, so we got that option. We're not running hot water to it, so no matter which way you turn the valve, we're going to connect both hoses. So you got water each direction. Let me see. And this nozzle's going to be salt water when we put the salt water pump. So underneath here, we've got the whole house filter to install for drinking water, but we don't want to filter shower water. We're going to make the toilet a salt water flush, but the sink to brush your teeth and the shower will be fresh water. So we've got the freshwater pump here installed, and this is the line that runs to the bathroom. So we're going to tee off of it, come over here to a whole house filter, come off the whole house filter, and tie into those two lines for the faucet. So got to stick my head in this little hole and finish this plumbing up. And no, that is not garden hose. That is the equivalent of what PEX was 50 years ago when they built the boat. Plastic line. And Gordon's done sanding and painting the cabinet sole. So probably going to put them in before we do the saltwater system just to give me something to lay tools and stuff on, but they look great. Success! Turn the water on. Switch it to a spray nozzle. It'll go left. It'll go right. You don't have to remember which way to go. Retractable nozzle. And it's all plumbed through the whole house water filter. So leak free. Everything looks good. This project is done. Next, salt water.